Disclaimer. This commentary is about a yet-to-be unannounced Empire multiplayer portion of the game. Hey mum, guess what?
Yes?
No, say what?
What?
I'm going to be an Assassin's Creed MLG player, like how the Call of Duty people play on the big stage, and you can make money from it too.
Oh, that's nice, dear.
If the multiplayer made its comeback in the form it is, I would not bank on becoming an MLG player. I did at some stage think that it could potentially be a main stage game. My hope was at its highest point when I believe Giaquinto or Ray and Stormwake did a commentary saying that they were playing a few AC4 games with one of the main MLG shoutcasters, Benson. They were trying to woo him in hopes of making AC an esports game, and by their accounts, he seemed to take a liking to AC. But nothing will happen from that point. Maybe Benson didn't personally see enough in Assassin's Creed, or maybe Suits on the esports board didn't believe MLG Assassin's Creed was something that should be further explored. But for whatever reason, it didn't eventuate. Today, I'm going to be talking about 5 things I think are holding Assassin's Creed back from becoming an esports game. First of all, the multiplayer needs to return. Call that reason 0. Reason 1, no dedicated servers and lag. There is going to be issues when one player is connecting from one half of the world to the other. One player could have the highest quality internet while another player might have McDonald's internet. Consequently, how can something be a true win when there is underlying lag? If, for example, you get lag stun once, but everything else that happens in the game seems relatively fair, it still brings the game into disrepute. If there is one instance of lag, you have to question the reliability of the entire game or game sessions. Call of Duty is an established MLG game that has lag as well. It has been proved, and it's been proposed, that the authenticity of the entire COD MLG tournament standings should be disputed. Lag is unavoidable at this stage, but at the very least, Assassin's Creed needs to have dedicated servers. That would mean a better quality experience with truer results by the end of the session. But why would Ubisoft create dedicated servers if there is hardly anyone to play on them and no profit to be made from creating such servers? In the same respect, why should people take Assassin's Creed seriously if there aren't dedicated servers to play on? People continue to run even after being knifed, pullbacks for days and lag stuns for miles. There is also a very plausible theory, which seems to be more than a theory at this point, though it relates to Call of Duty more than anything. It's the idea that lag benefits the weaker, less experienced player. It allows the newer player the opportunity to get more kills than they otherwise would. If the game is laggy, there is less of an emphasis on skill being the deciding factor in exchanges, but rather who can get the best of laggy situations. Simply put, game lag puts everyone on a closer playing field and closes the skill gap. Why is that important to some developers? It is because a smaller skill gap makes the lesser player feel like more of a badass. A lesser player can still notice lag, but not to the same extent as an experienced player. So if the game is lagging, the newer player has a chance to pull back the more experienced player and snag a kill, even if that new player only acquired that kill from bullshit lag, but to them, a kill is a kill. More kills for the newer player makes that newer player feel like a total boss. It's an entire discussion on its own, and I advise anyone wanting extremely insightful commentaries to subscribe to B Dobbins for the win. It's one of my favourite channels. Getting back to the point, does Ubisoft intentionally not fix their lag issues to benefit the weaker player, or is it just purely to save money? I think at this stage, it is just because there is little support for an AC multiplayer. So Ubisoft doesn't want to spend undue money on it where possible. Little side note, Ubisoft servers are nowhere near as bad as EA servers. Try playing Army of Two co-op or multiplayer. Connection issues, disconnects, and lag like you have never experienced. Essentially unplayable. Reason 2. Not a big enough player base. Another simple to understand reason why AC won't go MLG. There aren't enough people to support the endeavor. That means there is a smaller pool of players who can be the best of the best, and there are less players who are trying to be the best or at least support the MLG players. Where are all the pro South Korean AC players at, yo? Support can be directly by watching the event, donating or buying the game adding to the company's funds, or it could be indirectly by again buying the game and playing themselves, creating a potentially larger audience that could in fact watch the MLG game. The amount of people who play AC multiplayer and stay active on it is peanuts compared to Call of Duty and Overwatch, which have more than 20 million people flowing through the games each. Reason 3. Ubisoft doesn't have ongoing multiplayer support. The nerfs and buffs and ongoing tweaking of the game that allows such shortcomings to be re-evaluated and corrected. That would require a large enough player base to happen. Feeding back into point number 2, there isn't a large enough player base for continuous support. A standalone multiplayer would definitely mean more ongoing support. Reason 4. Perceived unsportsmanlike strategies. Playing a whole team that has gun. Playing a whole team that has offensive smoke bomb. Playing a team that 4-person defends an artifact assault when they go 1 score up. 4-man rushing, U-turning, point starving. There is a lot of disagreement about what is right and wrong within Assassin's Creed multiplayer. Unwritten rules as they were. So when it comes time for a tournament to be played, the hosts come up with a set of agreed upon rules. some reasonable terms in order to promote a fair and enjoyable tournament experience, such as no minor hack, gun, animus hack, or you turning more than 7 times collectively. These rules are not uncommon in previous tournaments, yet people are still not happy with playing these constraints. Putting a limitation on these arguably overpowered and cheap abilities doesn't satisfy some people, though if you agree to play a tournament, you agree to play the rules. Do other games restrict certain abilities in current MLG titles? COD prohibits the use of certain items. In the official Call of Duty Advanced Warfare rules, which can be found online, all secondary launches, akimbo, and UAVs are just some of the things that can't be used in a tournament game. Destiny didn't restrict any abilities in the 3 vs 3 skirmish kickoff 25th of the 9th tournament. There is nothing in either the 21-page online manual or the MLG site that says anything about the restriction of abilities for Halo tournaments either. Same deal for Rocket League, no restrictions on items. So out of 4 of these MLG games, only Call of Duty restricts items. If Call of Duty restricts certain OP items, Assassin's Creed can follow the same ruling on OP abilities within the game as well. That is abilities and items though, the tangible stuff. What about strategies and tactics? Do current MLG titles prohibit those? Strategies that are considered to be lowbrow but not illegal. In all the rule sheets for the previous MLG games I mentioned, none stated anything about not being able to use certain in-game tactics. Shooters don't prevent head glitching and spawn trapping, Rocket League doesn't stop you from using a particular aerial move. They will spawn trap and stun lock the shit out of each other to win. Why? Because they are elements within the game, as in, it's a strategy in the game, so therefore it's allowed. That goes for any strategy as well. If it's not hacking or cheating, it's permitted. Why then do people get so peculiar about certain techniques in Assassin's Creed, such as 4-person defending and artifact assault? It is seen as a cheap move, unsportsman in the community. Unsportsman, but not illegal. Should the players participating in the game be hated if they play to the advantages or shortcomings of the game? Not if you ask me. Hence the term, don't hate the player, hate the game. Don't hate the player who is employing the tactics, hate the game that is allowing such tactics to be employed. If you consider 4-player, even 3-player defending or rushing in artifact assault or point starving in manhunt an issue, then the game is riddled with problems. It's a fundamental element within the system and potentially can't be changed without ripple effects to other circumstances. If you are playing for $50,000, are you not going to defend like your life depends on it with maybe 4 players just because people will get poopy if you have any more than 2 people defending? It may be the tactics themselves that cause people grief, or it may also be the perception of the strategy and the inability to handle the situation when it arises. In soccer and NFL, the players can run all sorts of plays in all sorts of formations. The other team doesn't say, nah, you can't do that play because I'm not happy with it, or we didn't agree to that. No, you have to be ready for any play, any situation. In Assassin's Creed, are people not happy with the 3 or 4 men defending or attacking, or are they just not equipped to handle the situation? They haven't practiced tactics to get around the circumstances. People would rather just say that 4-player whatever is an unfair tactic, hence why it's debatable whether 4-player defending or rushing is a bad thing. It's a grey area. I haven't gone into U-turning or point starving because they are similar concepts. These are elements within the game. The only way to combat it is to practice and prepare for the situation when it arises. The debate basically boils down to 2 sides. On one side, you have doing anything to win, and on the other side, you have promoting a fair and enjoyable game. It's debatable what fair is, but it's something that players are avid about. As for issues in general, the solution is what other companies other than Ubisoft are already doing, and that's the previous reason AC won't become MLG. A lack of ongoing support. Reason 5. There isn't enough to watch in Assassin's Creed multiplayer. During the exchanges is when the most excitement is created, like any game. But what is going on when exchanges aren't happening? The off-the-ball play, as it were. The time when players are running to their next target in manhunt offense, or standing around in blend groups on defense, waiting for a contract in deathmatch, respawning and waiting for a teammate to respawn to run back into the base in artifact assault offense, waiting for stealers to cross over the border on defense. There are lulls in all games, but it's what's happening during the lulls. Not much. Also, in other MLG titles, the players are continuously talking, but in AC, they don't talk nearly as much. Why is that? There is a massive discrepancy between MLG games and AC. It's the death scene. When players die in other games, the game has no animation. They continue to see what is happening in real time. In AC, all you see is a death animation in distorted time. The animation looks cool, but it's holding back competitive play even further. In MLG games, players can still make callouts to their teammates because they can still see what is going on in the game. In AC, all you can do is call out where the player is last and what abilities they used. AC death scenes need to be more dynamic to be competitive. Here's an example.
Get him,
You can get my res. You can get my res.
Oh, he's across, dude. He's across. It's 30. Do not go bridge. Do not go bridge.
I got your
He's on
I got
bridge. He's
your
on
wrist.
bridge. He's on bridge. Stay alive.
He's sniping that.
Sniper?
He's sniping it. Yep.
As you can see, in Destiny you still have that out of player experience where you can still see what is going on in the game. In Assassin's Creed, it's just the animation. It's also very similar in Call of Duty where you have the spectator mode. In Halo, you can still see what's going on around you, even though the screen is a bit more static, I believe. And in Rocket League, when someone crashes into you and explodes your car, you can still see the car drive off into the distance and what's going on around you. That concludes this commentary. Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you think Assassin's Creed will ever go MLG? Do you think 4 players stealing or defending or U-turning or point starving is a problem? Can it be fixed, or is it just the inability to handle the situations? Should Assassin's Creed have spectator mode? Let me know.